Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another book reading with me, Richard Vobes. And we're continuing on our Lift Luck on Southern Roads by Tickner Edwards. It is the 2nd of November 2020, and we're starting this part 3 recording on chapter 4. And it's very nice of you to come along and join me, and thank you very much. It's not so grim down here, but very windy weather-wise. But otherwise, it's a little bit chilly, which is why I've put my nice tweed jacket on. Hello to the lovely Julia, who is out there, to Turbo Stream, to John F., to John Morris, to Nigel Sadler, who says, I've just finished the base map for the Peep Show tour. Oh, please send over as soon as possible, because Julia and I did go out again to do another little walk in the footsteps of, although we did a bit of a diversion on this one just to take in the local area and to explore a little bit of Staines Street and the old abandoned railway. Well, kind of. So that will probably go out tomorrow. Philip Hammond, hello to you. And Mary, lovely to see you. I've been enjoying that yellow jumper. I hope you managed to get the red burgundy jumper I sent back because I'd snagged the arm, and I hope that's easy enough to repair. I'm looking forward to wearing that. They're such lovely jumpers. And do you know, a number of people have been asking me if they are commercially available. So you are a star, Mary. I don't know how you do it. And I know I probably order some more from you soon. And I think Julia would like to order another one as well. So it's all very good. And Billabong O'Neill, lovely to see you. Oh, Nigel says, I still have to plot his curious route. I thought that's what you'd just done. Oh, the base map is the map under... Well, you could have just nicked very easy to have just grabbed a bit of Google Maps or a copy of the OS map of the period, I would have thought. But hey-ho. Anyway, we are on Lift Luck on Southern Roads, and we are on Chapter 4. And thanks to... Now... I know that Linda Kane has sent me a hard copy, which was very kind. And also James Cameron said he'd sent me a hard copy as well. So one of them has arrived, the other one hasn't. This one is in good nick, apart from a little fray down here. I'm very loath that it might get worse. But it saves me looking at the screen. Mary already and mended and on its way back to you. Oh, thank you very much, Mary. That's so kind of you. I absolutely adore those jumpers. They're so well made and so warm, and everybody thinks they're quite stylish and suit me, so you are a star. TurboStream says, parsnip, beetroot and leek soup for tea, cooking down as you read. Oh, it's interesting you say that, because in the Vobe shows coming up during lockdown, I'm going to do some live cooking. And I'm hoping that the lovely Julia will be able to help me, because she's going to be my bubble... what do you call it? I'm going to call her my bubble babe. Gosh, she's a woman. My bubble buddy. That was the word I was really looking for. So during lockdown, so that we can carry on keeping the Vobe show going. So that's probably the easiest. Yeah, it would be interesting to do some different soups and some different cooking, seeing it's an evening show. So that should be coming. We're on Chapter 4. Let's get cracking. So he went to Culmstock, if you remember, was where he was headed. Culmstock's square grey tower peeps at you inquiringly over a green valley brink as you come into it through the leafy lane. It struck me as being a typical progressive village. It was made up of every kind of human tenement, old and new, jumbled inconsequently together. All the old cottages wore, to my fancy, an undeniably shamefaced and superseded air, with the new and ugly seemed too self-complacent, while the new and ugly even, evidently in no sort of doubt as to their right to exist. There was a fair sprinkling of the artistic new, bravely enough conceived, but amidst their hoary surroundings giving you much the same impression of artifice as you get from an old English village homesteads at an exhibition. Altogether, I formed only a very moderate half-liking for Culmstock on a first view of it, but reflecting that I was weary and hungry, decided to leave further estimations until I had eaten and drunken at the inn. It was the quietest and cleanest, and perhaps the barest inn I had ever chanced upon. The floors were scrubbed to an unimpeachable, distressing whiteness. Not a speck of dust was visible anywhere, nor any sign of life, until my clattering boots brought a tidy woman into the parlour to take my order for ale and bread and cheese. I had the parlour all to myself, and sat for a long while munching at the plain deal table, wrapped about with a silence that was a positive, tangible thing. Between the table and the fireplace, a beam of sunshine slanted down to the immaculate floor, but it revealed hardly a mot in its path, not a single stray atom of defilement where it poured at my feet. Of a sudden, I stopped eating, beset with a curious idea that something was about to happen. And it did. A faint tapping sound in the long passage outside. It grew louder, and presently a lean, lanky, yellow hen cruised in the open door, obviously in search of crumbs. I kept perfectly still. The hen went about with her head askew, narrowly inspecting the place. She seemed cautious to an absurdity, taking each step with a painful weariness, and making no advance without each time thoroughly reconnoitring every corner of the room. Her footsteps on the hard wood were as acute as the blows of a hammer in the pervading silence. She could not muffle them, try as she would, though every moment saw her anxiety redoubled. What was she so desperately afraid of? I thought to myself. And then I caught sight of the other personage in the little dumb show drama. On the window ledge, slumbering in the sunlight, lay a frowsy tabby cat, who now, as I for the first time observed her, opened one eye, a wary, vixenish green eye, and turned it upon the hen. The reason for the hen's cautious demeanour was at once apparent, and as speedily justified. It is a moot point whether any sense of humour has been vouchsafed to the lower creation, but the old cat at Culmstock possessed this sense if ever a four-footed creature did. She rolled to her feet and made as if she were to spring. There was no harm in the act. She had evidently not the slightest wish to hurt the hen. It was merely a feline joke. She didn't even leave her snug perch, and for all I know the thing may have been done entirely for my own entertainment. She may have wished me to see what a comical figure a hen cuts when she is made to run on a surface unsuited for clawed feet. And this hen, for all her instant and frantic efforts, made as little progress on the hard polished boards as a man on a treadmill, until, giving up at last, she took wing and cluttered, screeching, out into the yard, communicating her alarm to all her fellows there, so that the whole village rang with their din. Whereupon the old cat settled down again with a fat, contented smile upon her face, and smirked herself to sleep. How lovely! How lovely is that? What a lovely little observation of a very simple little thing. Excuse me having a slurp of tea. Anyway, I hope you're all well. Sorry, just poking about on my old eyeballs. I could have stopped, I think, for half a day in that little silence-shrouded monastic room, watching the pool of sunshine travel slowly past my feet. But it was already late and well over 3 o'clock, and time to be moving. I got my rucksack and camera comfortably settled on my back and faced about once more for the Black Down Range. Beyond the village, the road took a winding course between high hedgerows overshadowed by trees. As I went along, I thought I had never seen so many birds, nor heard such a variety of song thus late in the season. Tomorrow it would be November, and yet the thrushes were piping as though it were a summer's day. As I moved, a little cloud of finches gambolled on before me. From the oak branches overhead, the tits sent down a slender seesaw melody. And now, right at my elbow as I passed, a robin began his old, old song. I stopped to listen. He shouldered himself a little further up the bramble spray, but abated not a jot in his quaint music. It chimed in wonderfully with the rest of the chorus, and facing about to the warm sun with closed eyes, I got back for a moment the whole illusion of summer. But it was only for a moment. Standing there in the full tide way of all that streaming light and music, playing the blind man in a rather precious fancy, I became gradually aware of a note above me, very different from all the rest. I opened my eyes, but I could see nothing. Yet the sound was there, low at first, but swiftly growing in volumes with every second. Before I realized its cause, it had swollen to a great hurricane voice, overwhelming everything. At its fullest, it was strangely like the uproar of an express train storming by within a few hundred yards of me, although there was nothing of the rumble and clatter, only the mighty rushing sibilance in my ears. There, against the blue sky above me, I now made out the cause of it all. A vast army of small birds, probably starlings, was sweeping by at an incredible rate. The sky was suddenly darkened by their passage. They were spread out like a great fan with its convex edge forwards, and the whole company moved in a solid phalanx straight for the south. A moment more, and they had passed out of sight and hearing as swiftly as they came. The quiet music and the golden light of afternoon were back again to the solitary country road in all their old tranquillity. Pushing onward now, I was surprised to find how near I had come to the hills that had been beckoning me onward all morning. They seemed but a mile or two away, grand, precipitous country, with a singular landmark or beacon raised upon the highest peak. I walked perhaps a mile out of the village, and that, as it proved, was to be my last step for the day. First, a small dog-cart came gliding up in my rear, noiseless on its rubber wheels, and before I could turn, its owner, a slim black-bearded parson, had pulled up short and asked me if he could help me on my way. He took me perhaps 3 miles at what I am bound to record was a decidedly unclerical pace, and dropped me, as though it had been prearranged, right into the arms of a young farmer with a tilt cart full of meal bags, who was walking up a hill. I walked with him until we reached the hilltop, and then, without any word from either side of the matter, on the matter of a lift, he politely requested me to get up first. But this was my second day on the road, and I was new to the work. In after days I found myself accepting such kindnesses almost as a matter of course. the common prerogative of the foot passenger whenever it pleased him to exercise it. But this time I thanked my host so gratefully that it made him stare. It proved a dull ride, for I could get nothing from him but monosyllables, or, often as not, only a slow chuckle, strangely like the call of a woodpecker. Indeed, he was very nearly as wild and as simple as a bird as any in the woods we passed. His costume was of a type common enough on fete days in the West Country, and would have astounded a metropolitan eye. He wore a suit of black and brown check, of so large a pattern that 3 or 4 at most of its squares sufficed to cover his broad chest. It was adorned with an infinity of smoke-pearl buttons, not only where buttons were ordinarily visible, but lavished in all sorts of unlikely places, on his pocket flaps and down the side of his leg. He wore a soft floppy hat of light grey, the high-pointed crown merging imperceptibly into the broad brim. Round this surprising head covering was loosely tied a black ribbon, in which was struck a great pom-pom of scarlet rowan berries. His collar was of enamelled leather, striped vertically in red, white and blue. For necktie he wore a bunch of black silk knotted and tangled. For necktie he wore a bunch of black silk knotted and tangled together, and the whole was dominated by a huge silver watch chain, strong and weighty enough, apparently, to cable a ship. We jogged along together for several miles, this bucolic dandy sitting on one shaft and I on the other, for the meal bags filled the cart to the brim. And then I began to notice a strange thing. We had been heading for the Blackdown Hills the whole of the time, but had, to all appearances, got no nearer. For all our leagues of progress there seemed still the same few miles away. I drew my companion's attention to this fact, and then got from him the only considerable remark he ventured on the whole ride. "'Tis the rain a-comin'," he said, flicking with his beribboned whip at the horse's ears. "Like as not till be a sou'-west will be a sousub afore night. You allers knows by the look of the hills." Looking about me, I saw that this prognostication was likely to come true. The wind was getting up, and the last of the daylight speedily failing. Black, swampy rain clouds were driving up astern. The trees began to toss their arms about wearily. Overhead, a bevy of rooks were cawing homeward, blown hither and thither by the sudden breeze. "How far is it to these hills?" I asked. He took so long to reply that I began to think that he had not heard me. 2 mile, he said at last. "Maybe 3. A full 5 minutes later, he surprised me by a speech of his own initiation. "You bides along o' me for Church Stanton, and when you be there, why, you be there." Of Church Stanton I got only a lightning impression of a brown church, a yellow inn, and a sprinkling of toadstool cottages, all whelmed in the untamely twilight. For as we drew into the inn-yard, a great white-topped vehicle of some indistinguishable kind lumbered off in the opposite direction, and I gave instant chase through the gloom and first cold drops of the imminent storm. My lift luck, which had deserted me all morning, was, it seemed, to hold me now until I was safe at the end of the day's ramble, for it proved to be a brewer's covered dray, and in it a drayman of the right kidney. I was soon snugly tucked away under the waterproof tilt, and the three smoking horses pounded along before me through the rain and darkness, with the great hills looming up vast and shadowy on either side. I had reached the Black Downs at last, it seemed, but was destined to see little or nothing of them in the pitch-dark night and the driving torrent. What I could see, however, made me wish I had hastened my progress earlier in the day, so that I might have passed them in the gold of the pleasant afternoon. And when we began to go down on the other side, these regrets still further increased. There must have been a view over half the county, judging by the twinkling lights that studded the landscape far and near. We seemed to be going down into an enormous gulf, an immeasurable plain, beginning almost under the horses' feet and stretching into the far horizon. But I soon got over this disappointment. It was the luck of the road, and with that I had no business but to rest content. Let's just pause there for a second and see how you're all doing. We have... who else? Diana Rolfe, hello to you. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming along. And John F., nice of you to have the real book. Yeah, it's a difference it makes to have the real book. I don't mind reading on the scanned thing on the computer, but it's so much better to have the real thing, of course. Justine Jones, hello to you. No problem that you're late. And Lee Lawson, bonjour. My Monday French Zoom overran. Aha, mais oui, it's nice, as it were, to be able to speak so fluently in the French language, as indeed I can do, and am, bon, with English accent. Yes, anyway, Richard will read a French novel next, if we don't watch out. Yes, that could be, what French novel? What about Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame? Ah, la bells, it is the bells that ring all day and all night, said the hunchback of Notre Dame as he was trying to sleep up there in the bell tower. What will I do? Anyway, sorry, I just got carried away then. Tall Poi, beg your pardon. Enjoying the reading, Richard, and my first message here ever. Well, it's lovely to have read your first message here ever. Thank you so much for typing it, and let's hope it's not the last. Do type more. It's very nice to have the interruptions from the text when I'm trying to read it. Anyway, let's carry on. Let me have a slurp of a little bit of Sluicy here. The drayman proved a very different travelling companion from the young farmer. He did most of the talking, and when he was not talking, he made the hills echoes with snatches of song, or burst into merry fits of whistling. I found he wanted nothing better than I should sit still and be entertained by him, and this I did willingly enough. At last he stopped short in the midst of his music to put me a question. And where are ye going on to tonight? It brought me out of my ruminations with a start. Now, where was I going? I asked myself, for, to say the truth, I had never once thought of this the whole day through. The question was disconcerting. Well, I answered him, hesitating, what sort of place is Slumberwell? Now, don't tell me there is a real place called Slumberwell. There can't be. Let's just get the map up here of Devon, shall we? Let's have another little gander. Where is my keyboard? Slumberwell. He's going to sleep in Slumberwell. That is too good to believe. Slumberwell, Devon. The weirdest museum. Is there such a place? Slumberland. That's a... I can't see a place called Slumberwell. Definitely called Slumberwell, wasn't it? Slumberwell, Devon. Maps. Surely. Wait a minute. It doesn't see it. Where were we? I'm just trying to remember where we were now. We went Clumber. What was it place called? Clumber? Oh, Culmstock. It's got to be near there, isn't it? Culmstock. Culmstock, Devon. Slumberwell. It's got to be near there. Tiny little village then, isn't it? But I don't see anything called that on the maps. If you see do let me know. Right. What sort of place is Slumberwell? I happened, luckily, on the spur of the moment, to remember the name from the map. Oh, yeah. Slumberwell? Oh, pretty like, but awfully dead quiet, I tell thee. There 'tis away down yonder, where ye see the little blink o' lights. I can put you down just at the end of the lane to it. Half an hour later I was standing in the dark and wet under a melancholy little sign by a side-turning, watching the lamp glow from the dray souse out dismally among the trees, and wondering what kind of fortune awaited me, whither I was bent. The night was of Cimmerian blackness. In the treetops the wind raved like a demented thing. All around me, as I felt my way along with my feet, 1,000 little rivulets splashed and gurgled in the deep of the woods. But I was not long in striking some Slumberwell. The lane plunged down into what seemed interminable forest, then brought up short on a spit of grassland, which next morning I discovered to be the village green. Friendly lights beamed out at me from all sides, and I stopped outside one of the largest houses, where there sounded overhead a familiar creaking and groaning, which I knew to be an inn sign battling with the breeze. Has anyone found Slumberland? I want to see what Slumberland was and what this inn could possibly be, but can I find it? He was in Culmstock. I'm just trying to find. There must be Slumberland. It doesn't come up. And he's in... It's difficult to know exactly what direction he was going, but he's in the Black Hills. I can see he's in the Black Hills. Has anyone got it? Has anybody out there? Is it just me? Have you all stopped talking? Are you all searching? Where is it? Where is this Slumberland? Please have a look. Somebody find it. It's got to be there. Yes, inn sign, battling with the breeze. That evening I spent by the taproom fire. Golly, he was very lucky. Still can't find Slumberland, says Lee Lawson. That evening I spent by the taproom fire in an old oak settle, with the landlord's slippers on my feet, the jovial white-haired landlord himself at my elbow, the landlady in curl papers and spectacles sewing by the light of a tallow candle hard by, and a wonderful old man and his son to complete the company. Others dropped in from time to time and dropped out again, but we five made up the enduring elements of the scene. John F. can't find it. Maybe one in America. That's no good. He's not gone to America. What about on a... Is it on marked... Hang on a minute. I wonder if it's marked on... where's my mouse? On an old map from... An OS map from 1880 or whatever it is. I'm going to look at side-by-side maps. Let's have a look, see if we can find it. Hang on, let's share what we're looking at here. Get rid of that. So we want a bit of Devon. And there's Columpton, where he started. And there's Culmstock. So it's got to be somewhere near here, which is here. Let's get rid of that bit. Yeah, we don't need that. So this is a very broad map. Excuse me. But if we look at the... He talks about going through a forest, doesn't he? I won't spend forever doing this. I mean, there's some Black Downs Common, Coombs Head, Clements Floxes. Just seeing if anybody else has managed to find it before I find it. Cumberland. I mean, it must be. We didn't get an end destination of the other guy, did we? Where he was going, which would have helped. Maiden Down. I've lost our starting point now. Here's Culmstock round here somewhere. There's Culmstock. He's got to be travelling in an easterly direction, and it's got to be there. Why would he make it up? Why would he make that up? Unless something happens and he doesn't want people to know. I don't think he's got that far, really. But it doesn't... I can't find it. It may be a hamlet or a small part of a village, says John F. Yeah. Nope. Everyone's looking for it. Oh, hang on. I don't want that. I don't know why that went on. Anyway, yes, okay. Interesting. Slumberland. And if it's just named, he just named it. Maybe he misremembered it. Linda Kane, good afternoon. Late, but obviously in time for some map reading lessons. Yes, we were looking for Slumberland. And where is it? It's near well, I can't remember what the name of the thing was now. Culmstock. And none of us can find it. Culmstock. It's got to be a really tiny little... But it must be on an old map. It really has got to be on the old map. I can't believe it's not there. But where? And what was the name of the Slumber Well? Well, yes, Slumber Well. I'm now calling it Slumberland, aren't I? Slumber Well. Yeah, beg your pardon. Slumber Well. I've lost it in the book. Slumber Well, that's right. Quite right. Well done, Julia. Thank you very much for picking me up. Okay, so let's just carry on anyway. It's all awfully exciting. We took it in turns to keep the talk going, and the progress was surprisingly easy. Each in turn related some simple experience. The simpler the better, provided it was wrapped about with numberless little details and unimportant etceteras, and spun out to its last reach. The old ploughman was especially great at this gentle exercise, and held our little circle spellbound for a whole 10 minutes, while, for instance, he related how he had succeeded in stopping a pig. At decent long intervals throughout the evening, the landlord and I replenished our glasses, but neither the old man nor his son could be induced to take more than their one great two-handled mug of beer. I pressed them several times, but always got the same rejoinders. From the old man, a smiling, steady refusal. From the son, no more than a gloomy, reluctant shake of the head. He was a heavy-jowled youth of about 40. Oh, that's nice. A heavy-jowled youth of about 40. Bless. this son, with an air of harbouring some deep grudge against the pot before him, for whenever he drank, it was always with a savage, indignant stare over its brim. "Never maun the wine drop," explained the old man finally, "and Albert here, and never takes no more neither." At which Halbert, with an angry snort, drained the mug to its dregs and stalked to the room, slamming it behind him as he went. And when he was gone, the landlady nudged my arm. "Now ask him again," she whispered. I renewed my protestations that another half-pint would scarcely hurt him at the end of a long day's work. The old man looked down into the empty mug and then rose to his feet. "I had just a little matter as I to see to on the way home," he said, moving to the entry. "I won't be more than a minute." "Folks do say," explained the landlady when we were alone, "as he swore a vow to his wife on her deathbed never to drink more than one drop at a sitting. So now he allers goes for a bit of a walk between the drinks, and he'll have it sure enough when he comes back again." And so he did. My bed that night was a magnificent old four-poster with crimson rep hangings and a mahogany cupid on the headboard, who aimed arrows at me all night through. But I was in no hurry for sleep. I sat a little by the open window. It was still very dark, but the rain had ceased, the wind had blown itself out, and a few stars were breaking through the dense storm rack overhead. As I looked out, wondering at the quiet and peace of everything after the deluge, uncertain footsteps sounded on the road beneath. I could just make out the figure of a man. He stopped right under my window and gave forth a rich, unctuous chuckle. He stood there for a while with his legs very wide apart, like a ship's captain in a gale, then slowly and deliberately sat down in the mire of the roadway. The luxurious, contented chuckle uprose once more through the quiet of the night, and then this soliloquy: "I'm drunk, and I likes it." Whereupon he carefully got to his feet again and resumed his way. And that's the end of the chapter. I'm drunk, and I like it. You can just picture that, can't you? Ah, how wonderful. How wonderful is that? Right, that was the end of that chapter. We've got a shortish chapter for the next one, which is very convenient as we are into the next half hour. The Great Slumberland Well Mystery. What ho, Andrew Norris? A bit late, having worked outside. Can't find an old blue-eyed maid pub in Devon either, says Lee Lawson. It's a made-up place. Is it a made-up place? It may well be. Who knows? It would be a shame, having given us everything else. But Slumberwell doesn't show up in a Google search, so... Chapter 5. The Inn... Oh, there we are. Linda Kane's already... Sounds rather like yourself, Richard. Oh, I'm drunk and I like it. Yeah, thanks. Linda Kane is already one step ahead. Chapter 5. The Inn at Slumberwell was called the Blue-Eyed Maid. This was my first discovery on waking in the morning, for there she hung just outside my window, gently swaying herself in the sunshine, and staring into the room with the bluest and boldest pair of eyes that paint could give her. Beyond this stony-faced, inquisitive damsel lay the village green, every blade of grass beaded with the raindrops of the night before. And round the green, little thatched cottages huddled side by side, each with its patch of bright-hued garden glowing before it. I want to find this village. Where is Slumberwell? Slumberwell lay low and was as near waterlogged as a place could be. Well, there we are. Nigel Sadler should be able to find it by looking at the contours of a map. It's low in a valley, presumably. The river all overflowed its reedy banks. It's near a river. There we are. There's another clue. And made so many loops and sharp bends here as almost to enclose the village. So it's pretty much in a horseshoe shape. That must be... Wait a minute. There's another... Let's have a look at this map. I'm just looking now. This normally has the water pictures in it, but I can't see rivers. Slumberwell, it's got to be there. You came upon the unsuspected brooks and freshets at every turn of the street. The sound of running water was eternally in your ears. To get out of Slumberwell, dry shod, seemed almost an impossibility. But by help of some well-worn stepping stones, I escaped from its drenched, shady precincts at last, and won out into the untrammelled sunlight of the hills. Is it the River Clume? Yes, it could be. Not Clume, Culm. Haven't received my copy of the book yet, said Linda Kane. How did you know then? Oh, no, it wasn't Linda Kane. It was Lee Lawson. Oh, yes, Lee Lawson's got the book. Sorry, I beg your pardon. At the first hilltop, I turned for the final glimpse of the little place. There was nothing to be seen of it but a plume of blue wood smoke here and there, and a slender white spire standing up amidst towering elms, all green in their summer prime. Slumberwell Church must exist. Surely somebody somewhere must find this damn place. Where is Slumberwell Church? Slumberwell Church. The best Slumberwell on YouTube. That's not it. Slumberwell. Premier Inn in Nottingham. Nope. Slumberwell Churchyard. Oh, wait a minute. Friends offering Winter's Christmas in Google Books. To open the... This is a poem. The village itself, our fair Slumberwell. There's a poem. Slumberwell Churchyard, the time close of day, time not quite on regale, allow me this way to open, although I'm not writing a play, for I know 'twould be better, and more to the letter of orthodox law, a picture to draw of the village itself, our fair Slumberwell, and I can only plead that I do so indeed, did my limits exceed the pages I want for the text, but I'll tell that it boasted a pond, a grove, and a green, Rose Cottage, Bellevue, and a tall house between, one shop whose bow windows reveal to the view loaves of bread on one side, neither tempting nor new, but it also was hinted that bacon or pin or pepper or tea might be purchased within, and needles and tape and sugar and cheese, so doubtless each customer's taste they could please, and please themselves also with profit and ease. Oh, it goes on, it goes on. The inconsolable. But where the hell? Anyway, whatever. Slumberwell Church. Where is Friendship Offering and Winter's Rave, the Christmas Slumberwell Church? Anyway, sorry about that. I got slightly sidetracked. I mustn't do it. I mustn't get sidetracked. I've got to get through this chapter before the end of the thing. Anyway, Slumberwell. Somebody's got Slumberwell. Slumberwell. Wherefore art thou, slumber well? There is a slumber well in Devon, says John F. That's where we're looking. Where is it in Devon? That's where we are. Where is it, John F.? There is a slumber well in Devon, but that's exactly the one we want. I am loving the impromptu poetry, says Tal Poi. How do you pronounce that tall poige? How do you pronounce that? I'd be eager to know. Yes, anyway, untrammeled hill. At the first hilltop, I turned for a final glimpse of the little place. There was nothing to be seen but a plume of smoke. Oh, yes. In the deep wood, afar off, I heard the stroke of an axe. The river sent a rippling bell-like note. And now, as I paused, listening, the church clock struck, clear and low, the most solemn and beautiful sound I have ever heard. But saving this, there might have been no human settlement for 100 miles round me, so wild and quiet was the place. Oh, Somerwell. Somerwell. I wonder if he just couldn't remember the name. Oh, Tall Podge. Thank you, Tall Podge. Oh, yes, Podge. Yes, so that makes sense. Thank you. We're looking for Slumberwell, but it might be Somerwell now. Is it Somerwell? Right, Somerwell. Has somebody found Somerwell? Summer. He has definitely spelt it slumber, but maybe this poem is definitely Slumberwell, but hang on a minute. Right. Somerwell, Devon, Somerwell Farm. Oh, Poe Hill. There's a map. Does this give us... Right, so where was he? He was... It could be there. Where the hell was he? He started somewhere... Can't find where he was now. Chumley. There's lots of little rivers and things. Somerwell Lane. Is that Somerwell? Can't really read that. Somerwell Farm. No, it's encircled with top stitch. That's not it, is it? Anyway, it's a mystery. It is a mystery. The Inconsolable. Look at that, Somerwell. Interesting. Damn it, we can't find it. We're being stuck. That's miles away though. Yes, I know. We're on a wild village chase today. We are. We must find it. If somebody wants to spend a few hours of their life that they'll never get back again, go searching for Slumberwell. It is ridiculous. Right. And yet there was no element of solitude in the morning, certainly none of that stagnant inactivity and out-of-the-worldliness inseparable from many scenes far busier than this. What actually constitutes solitude and desolation seems never to have been rightly determined. It's not absence of human life, enterprise. These, as often as not, carry the very spirit of loneliness and effacement into the noisiest street. It's difficult to analyse even the simplest of our emotions. So many cross winds and undercurrents go to sway the mood of the moment that we soon lose all knowledge of the course that we have mentally steered. But perhaps the secret lies outside our own personalities altogether. The old astrologers believed that the trend of human life was ordered by the stars. He that was wise enough might read the whole tale of human destiny writ in their bright calligraphy. But like all absurdities, this may have a certain element of truth at its core. whether other planets have their influence on our daily doings and sensations or not, it is certain that our own round Earth does strangely overrule us at times, both in heart and mind. Coming away from... It's interesting he should say that, being a priest. Coming away from Slumberwell on that silent blue and gold morning, the fact or fancy, call it what you will, that nature was still in her wide-awake, strenuous mood of the night before, was borne upon me at every step. A dead calm brooded everywhere. The sunbeams poured steadily down on the landscape. Hang on, trying to turn the page. I love that. A dead calm brooded everywhere. He uses words that we just don't use in everyday language. Who uses brooded? Such a brilliant word. The sunbeams poured steadily down on a landscape that was all smiling peace and quietude. Bees hummed in their wayside blossoms, and the bird kept up a cheery, optimistic chorus far and near in the woods. But the sky held none of this tranquillity. It was more like a battlefield strewn with the wreck of violence of the night, where, scattered and beaten, the old feuds still smouldered fiercely. This sense of a living strife between stormy night and overmastering morning sunshine, of a sort of rearguard action, still contested sullenly, bitterly between the victors and the retiring host, found a curious echo within me. For all the glad light and song and fragrance of the morning, I was conscious of being thoroughly ill at ease. It was as if the war-sated earth were crying, "Peace, peace," when there was no peace. Though the sun was irresistibly cleaving a path before him, the sky was full of cloud forms of a livid, ominous hue, stark upon the azure, or laid upon with a bizarre touch and ruthless strength, one upon the other. Every depth and intensity of grey was there. Twisted, torn rags of mist were caught in the hollows of the black downs. Behind them, a glowering rampart of inky cloud made another horizon just as solid as the hills. Yet it was not the thunder-charged character, the declared why can't I say just ordinary English words? Venoms. I can't say it. I can't say vehemence. That's not it. How do you pronounce it? I know the word. I can pronounce it, but sometimes they just have this mental block. Venoms. Anyway, and velocity of the sky that so strangely moved me. It was the fact that all the clouds still retained their careering, minatory look, though utterly spent and driven to a standstill. I struck a match and held it up in the sunshine. Without a tremor, the flame went straight up in the lifeless air. A thread of gossamer would have swayed its own breadth in that surpassing stillness. Amidst the blossoms at my feet, a butterfly dallied. I looked from the butterfly to the sky above. Her gentle fluttering veins held more real motion than the whole silent, serried heaven. A vast black cumulus and lurid steamer raged. Cumulus is the cloud, isn't it? A vast black cumulus and lurid streamer, ragged peak beyond peak, tumbling together in panic-stricken rout. It was all petrified into a sombre and almost horrifying stillness that gave the lie to the placid sunshine and the dreamy quiet of the meadow and song-haunted wood. It was but my third day on the road, but even thus early, I had not. Sorry, we don't have much to go. And now we're coming up to the hour. I've been spending too much time looking for bloody Slumber. Well, has anyone found it? Has anyone found it? I am late, but definitely listen to all it later. Kate, yes, marvellous. No one's found it. It must be Sumberwell Lane, west of Tiverton. I don't know. It just seems too far away from where he was. Anyway, it was but my third day on the road, but even thus early I had got into a settled habit of keeping an ear trained behind me for any sound of overtaking wheels. This time I heard the sound a mile away. I heard the horse drop from a smart trot to walking pace at the first hill, heard it pick up again on the level, heard it steady, slow tramp up the second and steeper rise. There was no mistaking the vehicle, nor the type of man that presently came into view. It was a doctor's gig, and in it a doctor of the good old-fashioned type, well-groomed, rosy-faced, important, and a look about him that instantly suggested the whist lover and the judge of wine. "I can only take you a mile or so on the road," he said, when we were bowling along together. "My path today lies through the wilds. I am taking to the heather almost immediately." This had a promising ring about it. I told him that any way was my way if he would consent to put up with my company. He laughed a rich, quiet, restrained laugh, like a chord on an old violoncello, whatever that is, some old instrument, I guess, violoncello. "There is not much company in a doctor's daily life," he said, "and it is only a chance that I am unable to join yours this morning, as the rule wheels cannot take me where I have to go, and there is nothing for it but to ride." I thought to myself it would need a good horse to carry a man of this generous calibre. He went on as though I had spoken the words aloud. "Yes, my riding days are pretty well over, as you can see, but there is no help for it. This parish alone covers 10,000 acres, and the few hundred people in it are scattered about in the most inaccessible places. The poor man I am seeing today, for instance, though he is pretty well past all doctoring. Here's the gate. Now I'm afraid I must take you by the rough road." We turned into a sort of bridle path that was little else than 2 deep ruts in the virgin carpet of wood. The bushes clutched at our wheels, and the overhanging branches lashed our faces as we went along. Then the track doubled up through a thicket of firs, dark as night, and finally out into the sunshine again, where there lay before us a wide expanse of heathland studded with gorse and stunted pine. A score of grassy tracks led away through the tangle of furze and bracken and heather, each as well or as ill defined as the rest. My doctor chose his path unhesitatingly. It was one of the pleasantest lifts that fell into my lot that day. We went straight over the undulating heath, right into the eye of the sun. Neither wheels nor hooves made the slightest sound in the soft, springy turf. We seemed to float along through the sunshine and sweet, pure air of the November morning. The sky was clearing fast under the hot sunbeams, and getting with every moment into truer concord with the gladness of earth, and my old unrest of heart was clearing with it. We made such noiseless progress that even the rabbits were taken unawares. Often they scuttled out of the way, only just in time to avoid the horses' hooves. The birds sang on, unconcernedly, taking no sort of notice of us. We moved in an arcade of music. Thrushes, robins, wrens, little blithe in every thicket. A flock of goldfinches scattled the thistledown in one place, and in the next a whole company of linnets filled the air with their slender tweeting song. A green woodpecker got up and laboured heavily No, he didn't. Yes, he did. And laboured heavily off, his crimson cap and emerald jerkin looking strangely tawdry and theatrical in the brilliant light. And presently an old Jack Hare sprang into the path, took one swift look at us, then went limping away before us for half a mile or more, carefully regulating his pace to ours. The bluff old doctor pointed his whip towards a farmhouse that now had crept into view. "This is my place of call," he said, "and that, I'm afraid, will be the end of our journey together, as I turn back when I've seen my man." He left me at the first gate of the farm and drove up to the house alone, and a few minutes after I saw him going off by a short cut to the heath through another field. I watched him until he had disappeared into the wilderness of yellow gorse, then went up to the house, intent on my own business. I had no idea of my whereabouts. There was not a vestige of road, nor any other house in sight. It struck me, therefore, as prudent to get some sort of general direction from the people there, while there were people to ask. I had resigned myself to the conviction that the ride over the heath was to be the sole bit of colour I was to obtain from the doctor. For this, my peripatetic kaleidoscope. But indirectly, he brought me now one of the queerest chips in the whole collection. It was the farmer's wife who opened the door to my knock. She was tall and slim and ceremoniously affable. A mere word on the doorstep was obviously dead against her ideas of courtesy to strangers. Nothing would satisfy her than I must come in and sit down. The door opened direct into the kitchen. It was a vast cavernous place with a stone floor and a ceiling crossed by many beams of smoke-blackened oak. From these depended strings of onions, bunches of dried herbs, sides of bacon, and the like. A huge wood fire hissed and crackled in the grate, and tucked away in the inglenook sat a gaunt, wax-visaged man wrapped in a blanket and spreading lean, shaking hands into the blaze. He took no notice whatever of my entry, while the woman plunged into a complicated recital as to footpaths, crossroads, odd turnings that I was to take to avoid on my way the dying man, for his life was plainly at its last flicker, kept his wan eyes on... I'm sorry, I've just kind of lost the thread of that. While the woman... he took no notice of my entry, while the woman plunged into a complicated recital as to the footpaths, crossroads, odd turnings that I was to take or avoid on my way, the dying man, for his life was plainly at its last flicker, kept his wan eyes on the fire, smiling vacuously, his white, attenuated fingers forever waving to and fro in the red light before him. "Then ye goes by Cullop's corner, and soon as ye comes to to 3 old ash trees, you'll see a bit of sandy lane. Don't go down there, but take Liza." It was the invalid's voice feebly hailing her. "Take the next turning to the right, and what is it now, William?" And then he keeps on, keep on, straight over there. "Liza, mind you don't forget to ask Barnesbridge folk, and would Miss Strapper." I'm not quite sure what any of this means. "I'll see to it, William. So, you keep straight on as ever, 2 feet up to carry you to Marcus Farm. He'll know by the Green Gables. And then, I has just thought of, Lisa, the Smitheries ought to be arrested too, and George Taylor. He has said he'd follow me if he had not followed me already." "William, do be quiet. Now, and then you'll see the road at Staple Fitzpaine, right before your eyes. 'Tis 4 mile, belike, But the thin, high voice from the fireside twanged out again. "Liza, I likes the idea. Gone but not forgotten. You can burn near the lonesome like, safe in eternity." I never realised until that trying moment by how thin a line of the pathetic and the comical are sundered in most human affairs. I'm not quite sure what that last bit was about, but that is the last bit of that chapter, and I'm quite pleased to get out of that house, really, with the dying man by the fire with his bony fingers on it. But there, we have run out of time, my friends. That's it. We're on chapter 6 next time on Lift Luck on Southern Roads. But where is Slumberwell? Somerwell, Hartland, is near Bideford. That seems in the wrong direction. Yes, I'm absolutely. And is making for Staple Fitzpaine. Beware of interchangeable demountable models. The bearings don't seem to last very long. You do get what you pay for. Nigel Sadler, what are you talking about? That's what Nigel Sadler? I don't know what you're talking about. Beware of interchangeable or demountable models. John F., thank you, Richard. That was interesting, and we have a mystery to solve. We do. We're off to find sodding Slumberwell. Good man. Go down to Devon and find it. We must find it by tomorrow. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It's been great fun. Lovely to have the book to read, and we'll be back again tomorrow with the next part. Tall Podge, thank you, Richard. Keep up the great readings. Thank you very much. I will do my utmost. Look after yourselves. It's been wonderful to be here. Thanks to Julia for keeping everybody in good stead. Right, folks, hit Google. Where is Slumberwell? I want the report on my desk tomorrow morning by 9 o'clock. Where is Slumberwell? Your mission, should you choose to accept it. Meanwhile, there's this rather curious poem to continue reading about Slumberwell. Now I think the churchyard wakes each solemn thought, which dwells in the heart, or at least that it ought. But if gravely disposed with sentimental fraud, can we help ourselves if for a moment we're caught? Anyway, it goes on and on and on. Till next time, take care and bye-bye.